We are now live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us, to everyone in person and in the virtual space. You will be patient just a few more moments. We're going to give, we got a little parking crisis out here and others who are trying to get into the space. So thanks for being patient. We'll get started shortly. I got her name in there too. Okay.
It's really kind of true. It's nice to meet you in person. Yeah, I don't know how to introduce myself. Absolutely.
Yeah, you still hanging. I just miss.
You work online and then you don't remember whether.
I know, yeah. True, it's true.
Join the project. And you get something impossible.
There's a lot of. Well, that's the reason I do this, because I've been fighting this side.
Nice to know you, but that.
Yeah.
And we're actually, are very.
It's good.
They have some private. Thinking we couple.
It's not your name. Also, but this is actually the first.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the.
Yeah.
It's over for you too. So it's not understood.
It's true.
I'm
like, I really think it is, so, yeah. Afternoon and I'll.
We've got Katrina Cloud, John Washington, and Leslie Solo of the committee members that are currently online. And I can give you a full report if you need.
No, that's good. That helps.
Oh.
You get the barrage of calls and texts right away, so. Trying to make sure.
All the way from
No, please. Yes.
That's how one.
Just 2 more moments and we'll get started right at 5:10.
Going to get started. Grant. Others will join me. Online? Yes, a good amount of people. Guys over here. I'm waiting. I was like, I'll do anything but have something for yourself. So I looked, I was like, everything here. A friend tonight. How sweet. Extra days.
I say, please over here.
I know. Volunteer grandma if needed.
Yeah.
For those online, we're all cooing. We have a new baby in the room. Yeah.
Love new baby.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you, everyone. Welcome into this space on this semi-sunny Portland evening. I'm hoping for yesterday's weather to come back to us, but welcome into the HAAB COAC meeting for this evening. Appreciate those. We have several who will be joining virtually as we get going for the evening. Slides, please. Thank you. Wonderful colleague Isabel is helping us this evening get through all of the technical. So if you're experiencing online any technical difficulties, please make sure that you give a call to that number. We will do our best to get you squared away so that you can participate in the discussion for this evening. Next slide. You all know all these beautiful, smiling, hard-working faces. Next slide. Yes, and several will be joining us online. And to the next slide. All right, this evening, we've got a lot of information to share with you. As usual, we have an opportunity for public comment this evening, and then you'll receive some updates in regards to where we are in the project, as well as hearing from our project management group and what is going on in that room to help us keep the work moving forward. Exciting construction updates as we are underway. This several year investment for many of you. We're excited that there are crews working and moving the work forward. Then we'll have an update from our colleagues at the city in regards to the work they're doing on reconnecting Albina planning project. And we'll wrap up with some next steps. Next slide. You all know these. You should be able to quote them by heart. I expect all of you all to jump in as you always have. You know that your voice is important. Sometimes it might not feel like that, but just know we are carrying every comment, every request, to evaluate. Your voice in this community really, really does matter. I trust you'll be authentic and genuine, that you'll listen for understanding. This continues to be a passionate project, so let's focus in on the issues and not individuals in the room. I don't anticipate discomfort tonight, but you may experience some because this is a passionate project for many of us. So I ask you to remain respectfully engaged. And again, we cannot solve all of the Rose Quarter issues tonight, but each time we get together, we're trying to move the needle forward in building this really transformational project, intergenerational impact with all of your help. Next slide. At this time, I am not sure if we have online or in person, anyone who would like to give public comment to address our HAAB and COAC members in regards to our agenda today, but we will open up the floor at this time.
Thank you, Erica. So we invite members of the public viewing the meeting on the live stream to make verbal public comments by phone at this time. I don't believe, Angela, can you confirm if we had anyone in person for public comment today? Okay, great. If you wish to do so, please dial the phone number shown on the slide, and when prompted, enter the meeting ID and passcode shown here. After that, you'll be placed in a virtual waiting room until it's your turn to speak. When the time comes, we will invite you to unmute yourself and speak your comment. Speakers will have 2 minutes for their comment and will be muted at time. If you'd like to provide more extensive comments to the committee members, please see the options listed in the meeting agenda. We have received no written comments ahead of this meeting. So to make a verbal comment now, dial 971-247-1195. And if you're joining us on the live stream when calling in, please remember to mute your speakers to minimize feedback. So with that, I am checking to see if there's anyone wishing to make public comment in the queue at this time. I'm not seeing any commenters at this time. We'll give it 1 moment. We're not seeing anyone else joining to make public comments, so Erica will hand it over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Isabel. Next slide, please. Well, look at that beautiful picture. Oh my goodness, this is wonderful. So this evening we are joined by our external relations administrator at ODOT, Malia, and she is going to share just a little bit with you all this evening. Malia?
Thanks, Erica.
Yes.
I was gonna say, do I need a?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good afternoon, evening. Hi, everyone. My name is Malia Masiba. I'm the Director of Government Relations and External Affairs at ODOT. So I oversee kind of all things government relations related, from our tribal affairs to federal affairs, communications, both internal and external, including how we communicate with the public and interested parties about our mega projects. So I really appreciate you taking some time to let me squeeze in a little bit of an extended introduction this evening, and also just making space for me to be here and listen and learn and try to start getting caught up to the significant amount of good work I know that this group has already progressed on. So I appreciate being able to be here this evening. I wanted to come actually earlier on. I started at ODOT back in December of 25, but I was brought in sort of specifically for the legislative schedule, which was pretty brutal. So I hit the ground running on that. So I appreciate your patience, as I know many of you know that ODOT has undergone a significant amount of transition, particularly in its leadership structure over the past 6 months. So thanks for your patience. And to that end, I do want to also confirm that the ODOT director will also be coming as well to join you in a meeting in the near future. So, but it is particularly important to me, given my portfolio, to kind of come here, introduce myself, and sort of, establish myself as a connection for you all as well. Any of you who have ever met me before or worked with me know that I really believe that relationships are the absolute bedrock of everything that we do. And so I think that an important piece of that is that communication is a two-way street. And so I want to, I wish my contact info was up there with the title as well. That's the much more important part. I think we, a little bit in advance, I had sent some contact information in. So if the magical tech people can put my contact info in the chat, I really do want that to be available. And that includes my cell phone number for anyone here to reach out to me ever directly if needed. Again, I just want to say I'm looking forward to listening and learning tonight. And on behalf of ODOT, we really appreciate, again, the extended time I know you all have put in to this. I know you've been meeting on a regular basis for quite some time on this. And just know that, we understand your perspectives are critical to this work. And we are we remain dedicated to making sure that this project is completed and gets delivered. Breaking ground last year was the first step of many, and we're looking forward to seeing sort of the design phases come out for phase 1B and C. I know that, I want you all to know that I've been meeting on a weekly basis with the Rose Quarter project team since I came in pretty much at the beginning of the year. I've really been impressed, honestly, by the level of attention to detail and foresight that we have in those conversations on Fridays. And the project management group has worked really collaboratively to finalize the scope of the first phase of construction. I know that the last months have been largely focused on shoring up the agency's budget, both near term and long term. And that's a conversation, unfortunately, that is not anywhere near the end. That's going to be ongoing. And that's going to take a lot of the attention and energy out of a lot of rooms, I think, over the next 8 to 10 months. And so, again, just want you to know that as we're struggling to prioritize the long list of things that we have, I want to just be available to folks. And I think, Monica and David know this as well. Like, I try to be really responsive if things are coming in. So please feel free to use the contact information that we will get shared with you here in some way. I know there's been a really dedicated interest in seeing this project move forward, including at the Oregon Transportation Commission and the legislature. And we know that transportation funding, including for projects, is going to be, again, a key focus area in the 27 legislative session. So we'll be working on preparing for that. The governor has specifically set a table to talk about transportation funding in the 27 session. I think many of you are aware that transportation vision group actually formally kicked off almost 2 weeks ago today. Well, I guess today's only Wednesday. So last Friday on May 1st, if you haven't seen that or wanted to go back and watch it, the inaugural meeting of the 2027 Re-envisioning Oregon's Transportation Future work group kicked off, and you can watch that on ODOT's YouTube page if you're interested in getting caught up on that work. That group will be meeting monthly between now and November. So again, if you're wanting to sort of follow that conversation about transportation funding leading up to the 27 session, we invite you all to participate in that. And I want to, for 27, I know that this project specifically will continue with its funded phases of construction into 2027, and that's going to create the foundation for building out the remainder of the project that I know has been, I think, a little over 10 years in the making, right? And so again, thank you for the time and energy that you've given to these advisory committees throughout that. And I look forward to seeing you on a more regular basis and celebrating more project milestones as we go. So were we able to put my contact information in somewhere?
Put it in the chat and we'll send it to.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you. Let me just say that Malia has been a tremendous addition to ODOT. She's highly respected and has a lot of credibility with the legislature. So she is ODOT's conduit to the legislature, and we've talked about that. The legislature is the one that's funded this project, and it's going to be a key body, right, as it relates to future funding. And so we have been briefing Malia because there have been inquiries by specific legislators about this project. And so as we progress and as we hit milestones, we're going to continue to keep Malia informed so that we can keep the legislature involved. So, and she was also very instrumental in helping to get some maintenance and operations funding for the agency, at least through the remainder of this biennium. So that was critical as well. So thank you, Malia.
I will actually add really quickly. So for
for the legislative piece, that really is, that is the focus of my portfolio, really. And so to that end, I enjoy the fact that I have good relationships with all of your local legislators, whether that is your state representative or your senator, et cetera. And so again, as David said, like, I'm absolutely a conduit to those offices and those ears. And so if there's information that you want to share there or vice versa, that's a great excuse to reach out to me if there's something you want passed along to them.
Thanks, Malia.
Great. Thank you so much, Malia. Appreciate you being here with us. Any thoughts or questions before we move forward? Yes, JT.
Sorry, I got a sandwich in my hand. I just want to first say hi to the baby. Hi, baby. Oh my goodness. So Malia, I'm JT Flowers. I work with the Albina Vision Trust. Just wanted to say how excited I am to learn that you've been brought on board on the ODOT side. I think one of our major challenges in 2025 was the lack of proactive communication with the legislature, right? We had key legislators, I mean, not just everyday folk, we're talking about people on the Joint Transportation Committee who are learning about cataclysmic updates in real time as the session was unfolding, right? So in so many ways, our ability to effectively steward this project through this funding landscape that we have on our hands in 2027 is going to be tethered to our ability to make sure that legislators are along for the ride with us and that ride doesn't feel as bumpy and unpredictable as it's felt in years past. So less a question and more a comment, just saying, one, very glad to see that you've been brought on board, and two, very excited to work with you both in the context of this body and more broadly through the effort to bring this project to life.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And I'll just say, I mean, I think you're spot on. You make a good point, and that's that, you know, the members of the legislature, even those who are specifically assigned to transportation committees, there were instances where they were learning about things, you know, much later than I would have preferred for them to be hearing some of that. I think that there's a couple of reasons for that, but the one that I'll point out that I think is really relevant here and that will change over time, but is that the turnover in the legislature lately has been much higher. And so the turnover on those transportation committees, we had more new faces and new chairs on transportation committees. I mean, than I've ever seen before, kind of all at the same time. So I think in addition to a lack of knowledge about specific projects, there also is a really good opportunity for just education and outreach for transportation infrastructure and how it works and funding, et cetera. And that's something that my team at ODOT HQ is working on, just sort of like a sustained education and outreach campaign for those legislators about the work and the value that the work that ODOT does and the value it brings to individuals and communities. And that includes updating them regularly and in advance about what's happening with these larger projects. So I appreciate you being aware of that. And that's something that we're working on every day.
Thank you. And the last thing I'll add on that is, you know, maybe there's some prudence in us trying to pull together a group of former legislators who were a part of HB 2017, who understand how we got to where we're at in the present moment as it pertains to the transportation landscape. I'm thinking of the Lee Byers of the world, the Betsy Johnsons of the world, even the Cliff Bences of the world, who are now off doing different things, but who I think in partnership with a body like this might be able to tell a more deeply informed history of why this project is where it's at, and also be able to clearly articulate how to get a big project like this and an audacious vision like this over the line.
I think that's a really wise approach to things. I'll say one of the things that I enjoy about the work I have at ODOT right now is that I get to see Lee Byer on a regular occasion again. So my background actually is I started in the legislature as a legislative staffer, chief of staff. I happened to be chief of staff to Katty McEwen, who was one of the lead authors of 2017. So House Bill 2017 actually came through our office. The majority of that work actually came across my desk and was worked with by me with Representative McEwen, who actually spoke with this morning, actually on getting her involved in some other transportation work that's happening right now. So I think we're on the same page as far as, realizing that as much as this is a massive project, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of existing expertise and wisdom that's out there. And it's a matter of just kind of connecting all of those dots and leaning into what we already have.
We're in good hands. Thank you.
Isabel?
Yeah, we just have a comment in the chat.
Yeah.
Which is just a gentle reminder to please lean into the mic and identify your name, start speaking, because our live stream data is.
That's awesome. Thank you for the reminder. Appreciate that. Right, with that, we're gonna move into our project updates and our interim project director, it's Monica Blanchard.
That's nice and close.
You have the slides for us?
Yeah.
And I think we got the slides and we lost them.
That's okay.
This is making me really glad I opted for professional.
It is very fierce too.
Thank you.
I really like it.
We appear to be having some slight technical difficulty with the slides. Please bear with us for a moment.
It's okay. We have babies.
Yeah.
He is unbothered. Yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Monica Blanchard. I am the interim project director for the Rose Quarter project. We can go to the next slide. So in the project update tonight, I wanted to give an update on our ongoing project management group or PMG meetings. So the PMG has met 4 times in February, March, and April. As you may remember from our meetings earlier this year, PMG agreed in January on the next phase of the work, so phase 1B, and we presented that to the Transportation Commission in March and then had a follow-up HAAB and COAC meeting right after that Transportation Commission meeting. And as a reminder, our project management group has liaisons from HAAB and COAC, Bryson and Felicia, as well as representatives from Albina Vision Trust with JT and Winta, and as well as members from the city, Metro, Prosper Portland, and the Oregon Trucking Association, and ODOT, and RIP City Management, and our contractor. With the work complete to agree on phase 1B, PMG turned its focus to the next phase of the work that we will design and seek funding for, and we're calling that 1C. So in February, I'll just go through kind of each meeting, what we did at each meeting. So on the February 27th meeting, the team reviewed and discussed the team's current assumptions on the phase 1C scope, as well as all the remaining work and remaining Rose Quarter project elements that will complete the project in full. We also started to discuss some potential for adjustments to phase 1C scope and kind of throwing out some ideas during that meeting in February. And then also during this meeting, Christopher Coase and Roger Millar from the America Forward group. So a reminder, the project was awarded some technical assistance through the America Forward group. So they did a brief introduction of themselves and the work that they will be doing, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the next meeting or on the next slide. But so then moving into the March 20th PMG meeting, the project team really started to dive into presenting some potential adjustments to phase 1C scope. We looked at the trade-offs of these scope adjustments. Where could we add things? Could we delete things? What would that mean? How would that work with the project? This was a lot of very technical discussions, and the team towards the end of that meeting came to the agreement that we needed another technical deep dive in April with everybody to really make sure there was clear mutual understanding on all the scope elements and how they tied together and what they were and how the team was looking at that. So This on April 9th, we had a technical review meeting, reviewed different phasing considerations, different constraints, and that was either technical design constraints, we have funding constraints. We've also, as a group, kind of developed goals for the project, such as parity in scope between the highway cover and developable land and local streets work and the highway improvements. We talk about limiting rework, so not building work that would have to be torn out in a future phase to continue construction. And we also really focus on maintaining continuous construction to make best use of the public dollars and keep the workforce development going through construction. So we talked about also, how does this work with the PMG fit into our overall project schedule and how this, how we are progressing the schedule and maintaining that schedule in order to continue to meet schedule and meet budget. And we talked, and so after that, the technical team really dove into a lot of details on scope elements, how they're interdependent, what their dependencies are on each other, and then also looking at the final functionality of everything at the end of each phase. What would that phase function and look like before the subsequent phases are built? So there was a lot of discussion between the PMG members, really to make sure that everybody had a clear understanding of all the technical parts of the work and what our different options could be. So then if we go to the next slide, after the PMG and some further discussions with the team and other group members, the group got together and ODOT presented some materials really summarizing the scope elements. So we have phase 1A that's under construction. We have 1B that we've agreed upon and is funded, and then 1C, and then we have the remainder of the project. So after considering input from PMG members and various options for adding, deleting, or modifying the scope of phase 1C, it was really ODOT's determination that the best path forward was to keep phase 1C as it's shown on the screen here, and the same as we had it before. And this means that we would keep the full phase 1, so A plus B plus C, the same as what was previously agreed upon with partners in 2024 and 2025, what was agreed upon as a part of the Reconnecting Communities grant and a part of the STIP and the MTIP. So really holding those commitments and moving forward with that phase 1 as we've previously agreed. So this really means that the project feels like this phase of work, this phase 1C as it's shown up on the screen, is really the minimum viable next step, next phase of the project that the project team will now focus in on seeking funding for this next phase. So after some final discussion, the PMG agreed with this approach and agreed that this was the best path forward to move the project forward. So as you can see on the right side of the screen, this completes the southern portion of the highway cover between Broadway and Weidler. So that's roughly 1/3 of the highway cover. It completes the southbound merging lanes between I-405 and I-84, and then it extends the northbound merging lane just under the highway cover under Broadway. And then as you can see on the left-hand side, when we're talking about, what is the final function at the end of this phase, there's several parcels both on and off the cover in this first third of the highway cover that will be available for redevelopment at the end of this phase. So ODOT will be able to turn over this land, and it will be available to start that development both on and off the highway cover on the southern third of the highway cover. So this was a huge milestone for our project management group to have agreement on this scope. And then now we're shifting into focusing in on our approach and how we come together to seek funding for this next package of work, this phase 1C. So the second half of our meeting on the 25th, our partners from America Forward, so Christopher Coase and Roger Millar, were in town, and they shared some of their insights based on their kind of initial onboarding of potential ways that we could approach this based on, their leadership and expertise at the city, Portland level, the state and federal level, and their engagement. They've had several meetings with leadership in the region to start getting a broad understanding of how we could approach a strategy for funding this next phase. So this was just a start to that conversation at this April meeting, and we will be diving into this more in our May meeting and starting to talk logistics on planning on how we would approach seeking funding for this next phase of construction. Yeah. Oh, it's the best. So this wraps up my summary. I would like to open it up to Felicia as our liaison, and I don't know if Bryson has joined us online yet, but Bryson, if he has joined, and Felicia, any additional perspectives on your time with the PMG, as well as JT or any others in the room that were involved in that? Happy to contribute.
We wanted to make sure that the original intent of 1C, that we all came to agreement on the original intent. And we wanted to be clear that the goals that we created at the PMG would be aligned with everybody at the table. One of the reasons why we lost the original funding was because we were not all aligned. So we made sure that we would not be leaving the table until we were aligned. And like Monica said, we wanted to make sure that the crews that we have on these projects, that we keep them working. That is incredibly important. It's important for our community. It's important for these projects. So that is a top priority. The other big thing is, who do we need to convene beyond us to rally support to get this project over the finish line? So the other big thing that the PMG came back with is we can't do it alone. And so what other coalitions must we form in order to make sure that we get the funding for this project as well? JT, anything you would add?
No, thank you, Felicia. I'd say that we also talked about the work that's been done to date in that arena, right? There have been several coalition building efforts that have been a part of this project over the course of its almost 10-year lifetime now, with the most recent of those being geared around the federal rescissions that we experienced back in summer of last year. That coalition spanned everybody from the truckers to Oregon Business and Industry, the Portland Metro Chamber, Oregon Business Council, of course, Alpine Vision Trust, Trailblazers, a lot of the stakeholders who are actually in the PMG. We have a strong foundation upon which to continue building. And I think it's going to be on us to not only rally that coalition once again, but expand it and make sure that it's fully representative, not just of the metro area or our project area, but of the entire state. And that the coalition is doing heavy lifting work for us so that we don't individually as partner organizations or as ODOT have to do all of the storytelling alone. That's going to be very, very central to ensuring Malia and everybody else's success in 2027.
The other thing I would add is that technical support that we're receiving for this project is critical from the people that are coming from the outside, really giving us, they're actually going around and really talking to stakeholders to see the viability of our project, seeing where the holes exist, because they work on these kind of projects all across the country and get them over the finish line. We didn't have this in the original group. And so I think that is also another catalyst that has add revitalization to this project as well.
And just to piggyback off that, if I understand correctly, that technical support is provided at no cost to the agency, correct? All right, so that's free technical support that we are receiving from the former acting undersecretary of the U.S. Department of Transportation, a former head of a state Department of Transportation just up north in Washington with almost 2 decades of experience working in Oregon. So we're extremely fortunate to be able to partner with them to bring this project to life.
I do see a hand from Mr. Washington online. You're still muted, Mr. Washington. There you go.
Evening, everybody. Hey, Erica, did I miss something? Now, is this group, is it comprised of the HAAB and a few other, the COAC and all that? And was there a reporting measurement that was associated with that? So in other words, what's protocol? If they're off doing, what they're doing, which sounds exciting, is this the communication back to the HAAB as to what they're doing, or how does that all work?
Yes, so this is a separate, the project management group is made up of all of the partners. So ODOT, the City of Portland bureaus, so that's PBOT, Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, as well as Prosper. You also have with us in the room Ted and Jean from Metro. So Metro is really crucial with the MTIP and all of the work that they're doing with this project. You also have RIP City Management, as well as Jana Jarvis from the Trucking Association. You have the JV is a part, so our construction partners are also a part of this working group, and really diving into the technical. And so as they reinstated this project working group, they wanted to make sure that HAAB and COAC also had kind of a through line as well. So you have JT and Wenta from Albina Vision Trust helping to keep community grounded there. And so then Felicia and Bryson are also a part of those conversations. This was spurred, if you'll recall, as we were going into the OTC meetings, and there was a letter from our other project partners regarding one of the phases we were, I believe it was 1B, correct? And so this work that we've continued to do has been a response to that, and has been really a great part of pulling collaborative energy back into the room. So it was initially a response to that work, but we've continued that in trying to move the project forward. So yes, this is an attempt to allow kind of the insight to the public, as well as this body, the continued work that is going on to move the phases forward.
Oh, so yeah, it was wonderfully helpful. So we're just wonderfully along for the ride. What is the HAAB here for then? I don't understand. I mean, did we
I
just
can help clarify for you, Mr. Washington. So the HAAB has a voting stake on the project management group. So each of these bodies that Erica just mentioned appoints effectively a delegate, and that delegate has a vote in all major decisions. So the HAAB has a voice, the COAC has a voice, AVT has a voice, the joint venture, Hamilton Sun and Raymore have a voice, the truckers got a voice, and then all of our public partners also, in addition to RIP City Management, have a voice as well. So I would say, if the concern is a lack of engagement from the entire body, maybe what we can do, I feel like I'm wearing two hats here, right? Because I'm on the HAAB, but I also often represent AVT on the project management group. Is we could talk to Bryson about what it looks like to make sure that information is being communicated back more dynamically to the full body, rather than just having it all filtered through one person. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the structure of the HAAB should change. I think we should get a chair or something, because it appears to me like as if, we're just, you guys have taken off and gone and done something different. But yeah, all I really wanted to know in the beginning was there a protocol for the work you guys were doing to report back to the HAAB or to get us some information from time to time, so y'all don't get too far ahead of us.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thoughts, questions? Okay. Seeing none, I wanted to make sure if there was an opportunity, Ted, if you wanted to chime in here, or Jean, I wasn't sure, or anyone from the city in regards to just the PMG update before we move forward. You Give me just a second, Mr. Posey.
Jean, shall I go ahead?
Yep, if you want to go first, and then I'll go to Sharon.
Okay, sure. I mean, I think we can be fairly brief. We just appreciated being the process that ODOT convened with all of these different stakeholders to try to get an understanding of the phasing of the project, what was actually going to be funded in phase 1B, and what then the commitment was going to be to follow through on the next phase of the project, and getting, I think, input from everybody and comfort, a level of comfort on and understanding of how the project would move forward after phase 1B. I think Metro's involvement, just to provide clarity for everybody else, is we are required by the federal government to program the project in what's called the Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program, which is really a check on ensuring all the different funding that is intended to be spent on the project is committed to the project and available to it, and that the scope of the project that will be built with those funds is clearly articulated and is consistent with our long-range plan. And so having clarity from all of the different interested parties and ODOT on how all of that's moving forward is very important to us, to make sure that the project is going to get constructed as described with the funds available, and that we also understand what's coming next in terms of that strategy. So I think we've just really appreciated the process that has been put in place to restart the project management group, and appreciate the ability to have that PMG gather all the information from all the interested parties to help ensure that at least, if not fully supportive, at least well understood that of how it's going to move forward and how we're moving forward together on that process. So I think I'll just leave it at that.
Ed, thank you. Really appreciate that. I'm going to go to Sharon, and then we have a question.
Okay, so Sharon Dalio, PBOT Major Projects. Yeah, we just really appreciated the opportunity bringing all of the people together as well. And I think what you've heard already kind of speaks to the foundation of, especially what Felicia and JT were speaking to, and the importance of the fact that, you know, work has started and it's important to keep the momentum of the project going. And so, yeah, just kind of with that consideration in mind, we agree with kind of where the group has landed, and look forward to the continued conversations.
Thank you, Sharon. And Mr. Washington, I also wanted to say again, I failed to mention that again, this was kind of directed by the Oregon Transportation Commission, right? To make sure that the parties are in line. So this has been in response to that direction from the commission. Mr. Posey, your question or comment?
Really, I wanted to know, first of all, I want to thank Felicia and JT and you guys putting together this subcommittee. That's what it sounds like, a subcommittee, because most of us ain't got time to do all this stuff. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, but I'm concerned because I'm not sure we're taking advantage of the political season that we got here. Where is the candidates on this issue? Have we asked them about whether that they're going to support this? What will it look like for us in this community if we don't get this? What's their position? What is the political calculation with the current governor? I don't see them, accentuating the need and the prominence of where we're trying to go with this. And then the other piece I have a question about is, where's our alignment with the interstate light rail and the Washington people coming on board, working with us, amplifying the need to have this as a part of the continuum of this transportation system. I'm giving y'all more work out there, you and Felicia and everything. But at the end of the day, we can't do this if we're going to be subliminal about the need. And again, I'm concerned because we're not in the media. There's no, seem to me, no marketing agenda that is prominent. I ain't seeing y'all on TikTok. What's up? So we have got to do a better job of amplifying the prominence of this project in our community. So y'all tell me.
So, Mr. Posey, I think you just set it up for us. Yes, we are working, thinking of it as a continuum, not only the light rail project up the street from us, but also the Moda Center right next to us, making sure that how do we get all three of those projects in alignment and in partnerships. The other thing we did talk about is how do we politically leverage this? But one of the most important things we had to do first was get all of the jurisdictions and all of the partners on the same page so that we go in agreement of what we are presenting, because before this, we weren't doing that. And so making sure that Metro, the city of Portland, ODOT, everybody was actually on the same page, Albina Vision Trust. So making sure that everybody that was a stakeholder at the table was in agreement first, because if we're going to go out to electeds, we need to have the same message and messages that support. Number one priority is to get this project funded. And so really that is the next step. We're working with, as JT says, with two of the best in really helping us create that political message and that storytelling. So that's what he was alluding to earlier, Mr. Posey. But yeah, that is a top priority now that we're in alignment. We know what we need to do moving forward, but we needed those meetings to get into alignment first.
Well, thank you. And I see JT on TikTok all the time. But I do not see Raymore and that crew out there, them brothers out there, throwing that dirt, rolling those trucks, tying that rebar. That's the kind of story we've got to tell to our community. So I don't see that.
Can I just want to say, I'm actually literally sitting here with the ODOT comms plan that I'm reviewing. And I just want to show you that I had marked up this social media push here, triplicate, because so we're going to get on TikTok. We got it covered.
And yes, you is. We gonna get you on there. We getting you on there. So no, let me just say, I think this is one thing we do extremely well in our orbit. Actually, the most viewed video we've ever put out on the ABT front was a video about the highway cover. And that video gleaned over 1.1 million views on Instagram. We have never paid a penny to advertise any of the stuff that we put out from a communications perspective. I think that there's a cost-effective way to do this that doesn't involve the agency or the project, more specifically burning through capital at scale. And I would be very, very happy to volunteer my services in helping pull together exactly the type of content that Mr. Posey's talking about. I think you spot on, Mr. Posey. We haven't told that story in a more robust and holistic way. We've effectively said, hey, here's a cool project. We got a highway cover. Or in some circles, it's, hey, here's a really necessary project. This is the worst bottleneck in the state of Oregon. And neither of those are effective messaging strategies for a project of this scale, scope, and nature. So happy to be a use to the project team, however we can on this end. And I say that in my own personal capacity as well. This is not something that should cost the agency money. Let me just double, triple click on that. We don't need to go free up $100,000, $200,000 in capital so that we can get out and film stuff, record stuff, and then put it up so it only gets 1,000, 2,000 views, right?
Erica, excuse me, young man. I object to all that he's throwing out there. Hey, man, that's a sales pitch. Come on, let's get on with this meeting, man. I mean, thank you for all that. Come on.
I don't understand what type of sales pitch it is. I'm offering free services to advance a project.
I think we should be offering anything. I think we should be having a conversation, moving on with this meeting, man. I think that I agree. You guys should do that off record. So so come on.
I'll defer to you today, Mr. Washington. You got it.
Yeah.
No, I don't need it. I just want y'all to just keep on with the meeting.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Washington. I will ask us. Yeah, let's maintain just a little order. We're having a great time in the meeting. I appreciate it. But let's try to, since we have so many folks to use our raise hand features and all those in the room. So
Eric, I
Yeah.
just want to say from the ODOT perspective about the project management group. So if we go back a year ago, we had the Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods grant, and there was high hopes for a transportation funding package. And some unfortunate circumstances played out where the federal funds were rescinded and there's a failed transportation package. That resulted in the agency having to rejigger and actually break the phase one into multiple phases. ODOT was moving forward and we had a plan, but there was concern, legitimate concern by the partners about, ODOT, you're moving too fast. We don't understand what you're doing in terms of the sequencing of work and the parity piece. And so during that December commission meeting, it was a wake-up call for the agency to say, hey, slow down. There has to be a shared understanding of, ODOT, you're rephasing this work. We want parity because of the uncertainty of funding. And so the PMG meetings were really a coordination meeting to get a shared understanding and alignment of what the scopes were. And I think at the end of the day, landing on the phase 1B and 1C culminates in the full build out of what we originally envisioned. And the beauty of 1B and 1C is that we're maximizing the construction dollars we have today. So there's a cost risk element that we're able to manage. I mean, inflation is running rampant right now. And the more we delay, the more costly it is. The parity element with 1C is the fact that we have certainty with the highway covers that can now be developed and not have to come back and remobilize and rebuild and reconstruct what we build on the covers. So, and the multimodal improvements on the streets and the crossing, so the surface streets and the benefit to the bike, ped, transit is a parity element for the city and metro and all the transportation users. And on the highway system, there are some operational safety benefits with the aux lane. So it was a great process. And I think moving forward, ODOT's committed to continuing to engage. And it was very helpful in those meetings to understand the impacts that the phasing had with Rip City, with Albina and the development plans you guys have, with Metro on the TIP and STIP amendments, and with the city of Portland as it relates to the district-wide improvements in the planning efforts and the coordination we have with the city. So I think we achieved what we wanted to achieve. And now the key element is moving forward to build a coalition to support the funding elements. And that is going to be a challenge with the ambiguity and uncertainty at the federal level and even at the state level. And I think the time is now. Thank you.
appreciate the comments, David. Yeah, we're doing fairly well. So thank you, Monica, and for all who chimed in. I appreciate all of the work to move us forward. We are going to move forward in our meeting tonight. And I believe Brianna is going to come and give us some exciting construction updates. This is what the work is about, and making sure that our local companies are getting a chance to work. So yep, grab that microphone and I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Brianna DeKalb, so project engineer with HSJB. Next slide. So progress and accomplishments to date. So we've got a lot going on. If anyone's driven through the area. So the bioretention pond, that's the photo on the right. The work is continuing there. Just Bucket has gotten their water quality mix in the pond. Next week, they'll start on the access road and then continuing manhole and piping installation to finish up the bioretention pond. And then down below, another major milestone is we got the water quality vaults set. So that's that picture on the left. With those vaults set, they could begin backfilling and then starting to install the piping and manhole connections to tie it into the entire system. Next slide, please. And I-5 work. So we've had a lot going on at night. If anyone's driven on I-5, you might have noticed our crews. Really shout out to them because this was all weather dependent work and they really rolled with the schedule changes. So Cutting Edge, they completed their median strengthening. So that was where we saw cut it and installed some rebar in the deck. We did this a few weeks ago, longitudinal joint repairs. So Our crew did that. We got that completed, and this was a huge milestone for us because as soon as we finish this joint, this means we can go into the next phase of traffic where we push all traffic to the north side, and this opens up the entire southbound side for us to start working or continue working. Gageit placed some of the southbound temporary barrier located next to where we were drilled shafts for the sign bridge. And then that work is really going to continue. So after tonight, we'll be striped, and then Gageit will be back out to place the temporary barrier for our next phase over the next 2 weeks. So you'll be seeing some additional lane closures on I-5 at night over the next 2 weeks there. And then we began doing activities for preparation of the truss sign bridge. We finished that. We got Pacific Foundation on site. They finished drilling the drilled shafts. And that was a huge milestone because that opens up the the sign bridge footing work for our mini CMGC Agami to start that work. So yeah, lots has been happening. Next slide, please. So down below on Lloyd Boulevard, so we've had Lloyd Boulevard closed for a little bit now. So that was so that we could start our gore widening. So we, as HSJV completed getting an access pad built for Pacific Foundation. Pacific Foundation came out, they drilled micro piles. That's that photo on the left there. They are now done, and we've actually started to get our other subcontractor R2M2 on site. They're tying rebar, and we're actually looking to pour the first footing pour on Monday. Moving on to the seismic retrofit work. So I know you guys talked about this earlier. So we have steel, it's being fabricated. It's been fabricated. We're expecting our first delivery starting next week. So Raymore and their subcontractors will be continuing on that seismic retrofit work in the weeks to come. Next slide. Okay, upcoming closures. So bear with us, there's a lot. So the surface streets we had previously, we did the holiday exit ramp. That was our shorter duration 9-day closure. Starting next Friday, or starting this Friday, we will be closing the holiday ramp again. And this is that longer 23-day duration. And that's really to get Agami in there to finish doing their sign bridge footing and HSJV just bucket. We have some additional work that goes adjacent to the sign bridge to complete during that time. Like we just saw, we have Lloyd Boulevard closed, and that'll be closed through June as we complete the foundation and the column and the cross beam, and that'll get us ready for us to set our girder and widen that gore area. And then you may have noticed we had northbound on Interstate Ave closed, and that was really to facilitate the drilled shaft work going on up above on I-5 southbound. So we've since pulled that closure last Friday. And then as you may have seen driving through I-5 in that area on the screen, we've had intermittent A or B lane, so faster, slow lane closures on I-5, and that was to facilitate our longitudinal joint work and then any access into the sign bridge areas at night. That helps us get equipment moved in on I-5. So that's it for me. We'll talk, I think later on is more information on the summer closures.
So I just have a comment. We want to thank the contractor for accommodating some of the unplanned events that occurred with the Blazers making the playoffs and then the Portland Fire. I mean, this is an area that has a lot of activity, and you can only plan for what you have scheduled, but there's a lot of other events. And so the contractor's been great to work with in terms of allowing access to the area for these key events. But I know it can only go so far because some of these things, it's a continuous closure. But thanks for the short-term quick response.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I do see a hand. Miss Leslie.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for that update. You just opened the door and I'm going to walk through it as you're talking about events. I have some questions or concerns about traffic being rerouted and what kind of engagement there has been with Juneteenth, Good in the Hood, the MLK run, all events that use MLK, Williams, and Vancouver, which we know is I-5 is closed, that folks take detours down those streets or up those streets. Has there been any engagement with those event producers to ensure that they are not impacted significantly, or what's the alternative, or just if there's been anything done to support them and their events, given that this is going to be some impact?
So Leslie, thank you for that question. That's a perfect segue. The team has been working tirelessly to identify businesses, events, and we're actually moving into that segment right now to begin talking about how we are communicating with not only Portland Metro, this kind of local traffic that will be significantly impacted, as well as the state, right? Traffic, as we move into some of these closures, will affect into Washington and those commuting. And so, yes, so give us just a moment because we want to talk with you about some of those. We have an extensive list, spent several hours yesterday talking through all of the events and all of the businesses that we would need to communicate with in order to make sure that everyone is aware and thinking about how we all need to function when some of this work is happening. So, yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Erica, I appreciate that. But, Juneteenth is in 4 weeks. And Good in the Hood is in 6 weeks. And if there's not been any communication with them about what the potential impact is on them being able to do their parades. So I'm glad that there's a conversation. I just think that seems like kind of late in the game to be having the conversation and putting the list together when we know that both those parades use MLK and Williams and Vancouver, and what's the, how are they going to be impacted, or what's the situation with PBOT and the police around, managing the traffic for those events to be able to occur?
Yeah, Leslie, this is Monica. We can follow up. I'll follow up with our communications team. I know they have been coordinating with them on those upcoming events. These smaller closures that Brianna just went over shouldn't affect them, but we will follow up on that. And then I think what Erica is referring to is the larger closure that I'm going to dive into, and some of that, who we're reaching out to for that larger closure as well.
Correct. Mr. Washington, I see your hand.
I was thinking maybe I might wait to get through this conversation that they're going to have. But that MLK runs completely right through our district. So yeah. I'll tell you, and we're no stranger to rerouting traffic to our district and down the MLK corridor. And you guys know as well as I do, that 99 is that only southbound reality that's going to be, and it's going to be coming right through the heart of our district. And that means the quality of life for people that are actually living on MLK and in the businesses that are on MLK. So I'm going to be interested in just hearing what are some of your proposals as to how we're going to address some of that blight that's going to come as a result of this. And we're no strangers to fighting this battle about the MLK and about the overflow of traffic. So I'm going to be really interested in hearing a little bit about that. So go on, let's just keep moving so I can hear it before I respond to anything, all right?
That sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Washington. With that, then I will turn it over to Monica and Rose, who will be sharing with us about some of the larger closures happening this summer.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. This is Monica again. So you may have seen in the news in the past last week, we had a public announcement around the larger 5-week closure that is planned for I-5 southbound for starting in September. So on September 11th, and then carrying on for 5 weeks into October. So I'm going to walk through, what the work is that we'll be doing, why we're doing it, how we arrived at this construction approach, and what we anticipate the traffic impacts will be. Then we'll talk, and Rose will talk about how we're getting the word out to everyone that will be impacted throughout the region. And then, as Erica mentioned, we want to get your feedback on who we're talking to, how we're engaging with folks, and help us strengthen our outreach plan as we move forward with this work. So next slide. Starting at a high level, we've got 2 major closures actually scheduled for this summer. So the first closure is in July, and that will be a full closure of all lanes through the project area. But that is a short weekend closure starting on a Saturday night and finishing up on Sunday. Then the second closure is the 5-week closure of I-5 southbound that I mentioned. And I'm going to go through the details of both closures, but primarily today focusing in on that large closure in September that is anticipated to have the highest impact to the region. We do anticipate that this is going to be some of the worst traffic in the region, as you can imagine, closing I-5 for an extended period of time. So I want to walk through that and then be able to take any questions. So next slide. Again, before I dive into the 5-week closure, I just want to highlight the closure happening in July. So this will be a full closure of northbound and southbound lanes in the Rose Quarter area to install the sign bridge. So as Brianna mentioned, there's preliminary work going on with the foundations for this sign bridge. And we will need to close I-5 for up to 14 hours starting on a Saturday evening and then going into Sunday to set that structure over I-5. And, if it finishes sooner, we'll open up sooner, but it'll be no longer than 14 hours. So then on the next slide, so for the next closure coming up in the fall, so we are doing a structural repair and surface replacement of the I-5 southbound roadway. This section of road, as you know, was built over 60 years ago, and the concrete roadway surface was last replaced in 1985. So it's well past its 25-year lifespan and has significant potholes and cracks and ruts and damage to the area. So as a part of the Rose Quarter project, we're doing this work. And if this road work really, if it's delayed any further, that damage can further get down into the structure and cause more damage to the bridge structure, which will just continue to be more costly repairs in the future. So once complete with this roadway resurfacing, it is designed to last another 25 years. So this 5-week closure will replace that roadway, and it'll be good for another 25 years into the future. So next one. So just as an example, in the Rose Quarter area, you may recall back in 2024, a hole formed in the bridge deck, which required an emergency closure at 4:45 p.m. So right in the middle of peak traffic. The picture on the right with the red circle, as you can see, that's a hole in the bridge deck. So these are the kinds of things that we will be repairing to avoid these emergency closures through the area in the future. Next slide. So this is a time-lapse video of a project on OR 216 in the old Mackenzie Highway. And this is just to better show kind of the work that we are doing. This is a much smaller scale, but it is a similar process. So we first will start by putting up traffic control and signage to get the roadway closed. Then we remove the deck overlay, the existing deck overlay, grinding down that concrete with a micro milling, and then hydroblasting the concrete away and then repairing any additional areas that are identified in the deck. Weak areas of the deck will get repaired and reinforced. Then once all the repairs are done, nighttime happens in the middle of this video. Once all the repairs are done, the new concrete overlay the concrete will be poured. This again is a much smaller project. Here you can see the hydroblasting going on. Once that's done, they will pour the new concrete that will be finished and cured. We'll install new expansion joints between the bridge sections. And then for this project, which they didn't do in the time-lapse video, it will saw cut the concrete for additional traction and skid resistance, and then finish up with striping, restriping the roadway and then opening it back up to traffic. As you can see here, crews will be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during the closure, and we really are working to maximize concurrent work by working in sections of repairs, repairing the weaker areas while other areas are undergoing concrete removal. We will have, this was a smaller section. We will have multiple machines, multiple crews going so that we have we are maximizing our time out there and minimizing the time as much as possible that the roadway is closed. We're also working with the newest technology on concrete cure, on rapid curing concrete to try to speed up the process as well. So then on the next slide, so now shifting to how we have approached the implementation of this work for the project. So we have roughly a 2,000-foot section of I-5 southbound where these structural repairs and roadway work will be done. We've done over 3 years of planning with the design team, the construction contractor, local leadership within the region and regional partners such as the Mobility Advisory Committee with freight. So this resulted in the approach of the full closure of I-5 southbound for up to 5 weeks, like I mentioned, starting in September. So I'll go through the couple other approaches that we considered. So on the next slide, the team explored, why not a single lane closure? So we explored 3 different options for performing the work. We looked at single lane closures, we looked at weekend closures, and we looked at this full closure. So looking at the single lane closure at a time, it was concluded that it's practically infeasible, if not fatally flawed in this area. This section of I-5 is very narrow at only 38 feet wide. So very narrow shoulders. So because of that, there's not enough space to accommodate a protective barrier, enough room for the crews to do the work, and enough room to maintain 1 lane of traffic through the area. And if barriers aren't used, the crews are at risk of being next to live traffic directly adjacent to the work. And then the traveling public is at risk being so close to that demolition work and those demolition activities. So also from a quality standpoint, if traffic were allowed to operate on the same area, on the same structure adjacent to the work, with just a single lane closure, there's significant vibration on these bridges when traffic is live. So this would make it harder for the concrete to cure and form a good bond to the existing structure. And so that, could have potential quality issues in the future and fail sooner than that 25-year lifespan that I mentioned. And then from a schedule standpoint, if it's performed at 1 lane at a time, the work would take more than double the amount of time and span into 2 summers in order to complete the work. And as you can see up on the screen, the team anticipated it would be roughly $4.5 to $7 million in additional cost due to those inefficiencies and delays. So then the next option that we looked at was evaluating it in several shorter weekend closures. For a weekend closure, as you can imagine, the contractor would have to take up and set up and take down extensive traffic control every week to detour the traffic in the area. And this takes away a lot of time from doing the actual construction work and introduces a lot of inefficiencies to the construction. And then breaking this work into multiple stages would create a larger number of concrete pours and cold joints between each one of those concrete pours when every section was poured each weekend. And so over time in those joints, it's more likely for water to get into those joints, and during freeze thaw cycles have cracks and damage to the concrete over its lifetime. The work itself, as you can imagine as well, would take a lot longer to accomplish in multiple weekend closures. We'd have a lot of inefficiencies, and the team calculated that it would be every weekend during the summer for 2 years or more to complete this work. And, due to those inefficiencies and that extended schedule, this would be an additional $6 to $9 million to the project due to all the inefficiencies, extra mobilization, and extra time. So then on the next slide, so ultimately, this kind of sums it up, but after careful consideration, a continuous 5-week closure, although impactful, is really the cheapest, the fastest, and the safest for workers to complete this work compared to weekend or single lane closures. It also delivers the highest quality result for the long-lasting concrete roadway surface, so we don't have to come back and do this for at least another 25 years. Next slide. So now shifting into what the closure will look like. As I mentioned earlier, it's scheduled to start September 11th and last for up to 5 weeks. And we will, if it gets done sooner, we will open up the highway sooner. So starting from the north and the southbound off-ramp from I-5 to I-405, so on the Fremont Bridge, that will remain open. The on-ramps from Greeley Avenue and I-405 northbound to I-5 southbound, both of those will be closed up at the north end. One lane of traffic will remain open on I-5 down to the Broadway-Weidler exit for local traffic going to Moda Center, Memorial Coliseum, the Convention Center, and any access into that area of the city. I-5 southbound, though, will be completely closed between the Broadway-Weidler exit right near the Moda Center all the way to the 84 interchange. So this is, as you can see on the screen, this is the work zone where the work will be completed. Both directions of I-84 will remain open to traffic, and they'll be able to use the I-84 westbound on-ramps to I-5 southbound, as you can see at the bottom, the green arrows at the bottom of the screen there. So then onto the next slide. Now looking at what our signed detours will be during the closure. So for traffic that's driving through the area and continuing on I-5, they will be detoured onto 405, so onto the Fremont Bridge, and then merge back into I-5 southbound, south of the city. For traffic that needs to go, that's coming on I-5 southbound and needs to get on 84 eastbound, they will also be detoured to 405 over the Fremont Bridge, and then merge onto I-5 northbound and then on to 84 eastbound, so kind of make the big loop around and come back. As I mentioned, the I-5 southbound Broadway-Weidler exit will remain open for local traffic. For regional traffic that doesn't need to access downtown Portland, we are encouraging those drivers to use 205. So we are working, and Rose will talk a little bit about this, but we have been coordinating with WashDOT to have signage all the way north. And I got another slide on that, but signage to notify drivers if they are not, don't need to come into Portland and they're say making a trip from Olympia down to Salem, that they can use 205 and avoid the area and help us out that way. But I do, as I mentioned earlier, we do anticipate that this will be some of the worst traffic that we've seen in a long time across the city during these detours. 405 is already near capacity at peak travel times. The team has looked at these closures and anticipates that it could take up to 2 to 3 times longer than normal travel times during congestion. and the congestion could be all the way up into Washington over the I-5 bridge. So we know it's going to be very tough for everyone, both local travelers, businesses, freight, and everybody. And we do, these are our signed detour routes, but as we all know, and we all use Google Maps, we do anticipate people will take parallel routes. So this, does have effects well beyond the interstate system and into local streets. One more slide for me before I hand it over to Rose. So we are using multiple strategies for traffic management during the closure. We will have crews clearing incidents quickly so that we don't create any compounding impacts during the closure. So traffic conditions across the metro area during the closure will be monitored closely, both on the interstate and the local streets, and incident response vehicles will be present at the closure points along the detour to have increased incident response staff to provide assistance to disabled vehicles, helping keep lanes operating as smoothly as possible. We're also working with the city on smoothing traffic flow along local streets, looking at things such as ramp meter timing and signal timing, and collaborating on traffic operations monitoring. The graphic that's on the right shows all the locations of our variable message signs in the region. So we'll be using both these permanent electronic signs as well as some portable electronic message signs to provide detour information well in advance of the closure location, so people are aware while they're traveling. We're also coordinating, as I mentioned, not on this map, but we're coordinating with WashDOT to notify travelers along I-5 and 205 ahead of the split, so they can get onto 205 if that makes sense for where they are going. And lastly, we're asking everyone to plan ahead, and this is part of the communications work that Rose will talk about, and then we want to dive into deeper, because many drivers have no other option than driving through this area, and we recognize that. So if some people that do have flexibility can change their travel plans, whether that's traveling during off-peak hours, using public transit, or planning alternate routes, it'll help us that little bit extra. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rose.
Thanks, Monica. So communicating out to the public clearly is an important part of the strategy here. I mean, we know it's going to be tough. We can't change that. But we know that if we ask people to plan ahead and think about how they are making choices during this time, for those who can travel, people who can make adjustments can make a big difference on the road. So we've seen that in other closures. We know that when we've frankly scared the bejesus out of some people about the closure, and give them the options for how to travel and make different choices for alternative routes, et cetera. We do see an adjustment in travel, and we also know that there's fluctuations during this. So we want to let people know that 2 to 3 times longer duration, that is modeled. If no one changes behavior, it's as if nothing changed from right now. And then when we ask people to maybe think about, maybe don't book that appointment during the closure if you do not need to. If you have the option to use transit, that's great. We know that not everyone's going to have the opportunity to avoid this area. Some people have to commute through here. Some people live there. Some people have businesses there. But we're going to do our best with this information campaign to get out the word to people that all our decisions make a difference during this time. So, and you also see in parallel to that, we also know that being aware of this closure, if you are a commuter, a business owner, we want everyone to know about this closure statewide. So we have a big job ahead of us, and we've already been working quite robustly since last summer to get the word out. So, really right now we are, as Malcolm mentioned, we are educating travelers and beginning the effort here through the summer to help people navigate these impacts and be aware of them. Also working very closely with our partner agencies and stakeholders who are prepared so that they're prepared for these closures as well. We have the transit agencies, we have folks who are going to have operations through these areas who need to be able to navigate around through their events. Their customers need to be able to navigate their events. So we've been reaching out to Moda Center, Convention Center. We'll be talking with the Expo Center. We're talking to these big event centers like, where the Thorns and the Timbers play. All these folks really are going to need the heads up And so we've already started work with their communications teams to start to navigate how we use their existing communication channels to reach their customers, their internal staff, and amplify that message out to help people get aware of these closures. And go to the next slide if we could, Isabel. So we don't want anyone to be caught off guard by this, so we are trying to get out the word as much as possible, and we've been leveraging everyone we talk to. We kind of share where we've been, where we're going, and we ask for people to help us fill in some blanks, because there's some people we just don't have relationships with yet, or we need to get connected with. So we do, that will be part of a brief activity here after my next few slides, is to get this list in front of y'all and just see if you see any holes or have any suggestions along those lines. We've been doing since last April, we have been getting out there and making sure that we're getting electeds aware or elected officials aware of these closures. So local, state elected officials and regional as well. We were able to have a few briefings where we were able to bring folks together, give them that information, and we're hearing that, yes, this is going to be a hard closure, but they're going to help us get the word out to their constituents, which is great. Social media. We have a two-pronged approach here with social media. So we have a paid opportunity here where we have some budget to be going on to the advertising side of social media, do targeted ads and broad ads that help people get signed up for alerts and get their text message in, and it's right in the app, so no one has to leave. They can do it right there. But the other side of that, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but organic social media has proven to be very effective for our larger closures. We have I'm going to sing the praises of our director of social media at ODOT, who has very talented at creating content that grabs attention and has done so with closures. We actually, Monica mentioned, we connected with WashDOT, and we heard from them as they're doing this Revive I-5 closure up in Seattle, where there's long durations of closures over many weeks and months, that they looked to ODOT's social media around big closures and adopted some of the creative content practices that are catching people's attention and getting them to not only be aware of how they can help make the impact lessen, but also how they can get involved and sign up. So there's the two-pronged approach there. And we're also weaving in that story of workforce, right? Who's working on this project? We haven't quite unveiled the strategy yet. We're still, our lean team is working hard at that right now. But we do intend to tell the story of the project too. And then we have these existing, thankfully, communication channels that we can leverage here at ODOT. Beyond social media, we have our, typical e-news, text messages. Our website has a good resource page for travel impacts. There's also going to be a page we build out about, if we're asking you to consider your options, we want to show you what those options are to the best of our ability. So we're going to be creating a resource page to that effect. And then, as I mentioned, we do have some budget for paid advertising. Next slide. This is not exhaustive, but this is just a handful of the people we've done some briefings with, some planning with around these closures. Gives you a sense of where we've been, again, but not exhaustive. The list down here is exhaustive, however, so when we get there, you can see really where we've been. We know that, each of these organizations on here needed that real long runway, advanced touch point to be able to begin to plan with their operations folks about how they're going to have to maybe adjust routes, adjust events, or whatever it is that can help them be more flexible during this time, and how we can maybe provide information and as a comms team, particularly information that can help them get the word out and create assets, like graphics, maps, handouts that are useful for them as well. Next slide. So here we are. We are just past the public outreach section or public campaign that I've kind of been outlining here for you. That purple line kind of shows you like that behind the scenes work we've been doing with our partners and elected officials to get the word out early and often. That's going to continue through the end of the closure. Beyond the closure, we want to hear not just from those folks, but also the public, and do our own kind of internal analysis about how this closure went. We want to know what we can do better next time, what went well. The public kind of outreach kickoff there that happened with a press release on May 4th. You may have caught that. We were wanting to really start with a bang. We got some good press coverage there, I think. Moving forward beyond that, with full court press, we are out there doing briefings almost every day right now, talking to freight industry, talking to broad swath of a lot of those logos you saw up there, and beyond, but also starting to move toward another phase of our engagement here, which is also outlined on your list here. It's the community engagement that is more direct. So being at those events this summer, like Juneteenth, Good in the Hood, MLK Dream Run, Word is Bond, In My Shoes Walk, those kinds of events where we know we want to meet community. But also beyond that, like we are also considering, people with disabilities who need to learn about this through as individuals, but also through organizations that serve them, multi-language, organizations that are serving people that may not be online, who might need those alternative services to get the information to help them navigate during this time. So we basically need to talk to everyone, and we know that. And that is a big lift, right, for what is a lean, mean communications team. And we need your help. And so I think we're looking forward to getting your input as we share this list with you. We're going to do the heavy lifting of writing down all your thoughts. You're welcome to write down your own, as well as we have an online breakout room, and we have a in-person one here. And if we could, I don't know if there's another slide left here. Yeah. So the last message here is thank you for taking this message out with you today, thinking about how you can share it. Sign up for those text alerts, especially those listening out there online. If you have the ability to head to i5rosequarter.org right now and sign up for our text alerts, email alerts, and thinking about who you think we should reach out to, send us a message. We would love to hear from you. And I will turn it back over to Erica.
Thank you, Rose. Appreciate that. That's a lot of information. I know that the team is working diligently to make sure that everyone understands and has all of the information. I realize that there are a number of comments in the chat that I cannot see. I want to get to those. Joy Elisa, I do see your hand as well. And I know that Miss Serena Stoudemire also had her hand raised. So maybe we'll start with the comments, Isabel. And I am not sure that just for the use of our time, if breaking out makes sense right now. So let's go to the comments first, and we'll see where we are.
Andrew commented that some of the nonprofits affiliated with HAAB members are not listed on the handout. He also noted that there is no VMS reportable message signs located on our map east of I-205, especially along I-84, Powell, Highway 26, and Sandy, and having some VMS in those locations might be helpful for travelers to find alternate routes. Leslie mentioned that it's great that we're working with large events organizations. Her concern is for renters, small businesses, and small events that will be impacted by traffic moving from I-5 to city streets. And Joy Elise asked if there would be any bus-only lanes in this strategy to encourage public transit use during this 5 weeks, and wished that we had 5 weeks of free transit to limit car congestion and lower carbon emissions.
Thank you for reading those comments. So Ms. Serena, I'm going to go to you, then I'm going to go to Joy Elise, and then to Mr. Washington.
I just want to remind folks, this is not your ordinary closer. This is not like any other closer we've had experience in the state of Oregon. And it's not just a statewide, but it's really pertinent to our inter-community, inner-north, northeast, and the organizations. And even though we reached out to those bigger organizations and corporations, we need to do intentional outreach in person to our nonprofits in the area, because even though you've named those other ones, but there's still a lot that we have to do. And you made presentations to those bigger groups, but we need to make presentations to our nonprofits in the area as well. And it has to be intentional, and it has to be in person, and it just cannot only just be online and social media, especially for our seniors in our area and those folks of that sort. So I just want to put that out there. Intentional and focus and collaborative outreach engagement, which is different from outreach. Engagement means actually going out there, spending time at the organizations, having presentations so folks can ask questions. And I'm thinking of the Boise Elliott neighborhood. I'm thinking about out in East Portland as well. Folks are using the area constantly. We know that we have the Newport Jazz Festival, and I have the list of all the nonprofits and those different events that are happening, and we do have tabling at that too. But again, having that in-person contact is so very, very important.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Ms.
You're
Joy,
welcome.
thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. I first just want to share some appreciation, I think, to Rose for all this hard work and the team. I really do appreciate laying out those scenarios of why you made the decision versus kind of saving us the millions of dollars if we were to spread this out. So first, I want to say thank you. Second of all, I am curious if there has been any conversations with TriMet, and particularly with like funds like PSEF that could possibly allow for some public transit dollars during this time. I live on this route, so I'm definitely impacted and I'm excited for this. So I'm not on a negative, but I'm just thinking a little bit more about the cost for some of us can't afford to wake up earlier or have to wait in traffic for 2 hours, so to speak, to get to work. So I'm thinking about the public transit, and hopefully that could be an opportunity to pilot what it could look like to have some more free TriMet days, because I'm sure we've all seen the graphic where you have like 50 cars with individual people versus 50 riding a bus. And I think we can help eliminate some of this congestion.
Excellent. Great idea. Thank you, Joy. Definitely made note of that. And appreciate that comment. Mr. Washington, I see your hand.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Erica. And thank God people are going to work. We're getting people to go to work. But I'm gravely concerned about something. I mean, this is totally in alignment with the district that I sit as the chair of. And the Soap District Business Association is probably the oldest business association in the city of Portland. It's 50 years old, and it has a really wide span. It goes from Interstate to 33rd and from Columbia to Broadway. Now think about this. And then the third of our biggest fundraiser, the third of the budget is a fundraiser that goes on a week after you guys start, and it runs in the district. Okay. And so, I have some grave concerns about, how this is going to all stack itself out, because this run is 15 years old. It's never been influenced this way. Okay. And the routes are predictable. They're within the city limits, within the district limits. And MLK plays a big part of that run. And of course, you guys know that there's one of the biggest affordable housing clusters are on the MLK Boulevard. And on that boulevard, we've fought many times for the quality of life of those people who live on the boulevard because of the emissions and the quality of air and that kind of stuff while on the boulevard. And of course, now more than ever, families actually live there. So I'm a little bit concerned that we're not on that list, nowhere that you put out. You haven't come over and had a conversation with us about nothing. Okay. And in fact, we're going to be affected probably some of the worst of any of the businesses in our district, but there's over 5,000 businesses in our district. And so I have big concerns here. So I don't know if we get offline and have a conversation, but that stuff that JT told y'all about not needing to pay $100,000 for media marketing, I don't think y'all trickled that down far enough. So there are a lot of community groups that need to be informed, and there's so much more in your outreach plan that you're missing. But I'm just not going to blurt that out to you, okay? But I'm more than willing to have a conversation with you about the possibilities, because there are a whole lot of community linkages that you're missing. And the last thing I'll say as I get out of this conversation with you is that the tribal conversation, the people who will be occupying and affected the most in this, they're tribal. They communicate with one another. They live in the district. They live in the area. And there are a lot of people that live there. So I think that we should really, these big names that you've been throwing out that whole time, I think we ought to really consider have you really got in touch with the actual people who are actually going to be affected, or you don't care? So I rest my case and I yield it back to you, Erica.
I appreciate that, Mr. Washington. Just know that Seoul District Business Association is at the top of a planned outreach list, and the closure information just went public within the week. And so we are looking to you all, HAAB members, COAC members, to help us identify additional ways that we can make sure that the community is notified. To Ms. Serena's point as well, how we are engaging with community around this. So I know online, I am not sure where the information, did we present a link to those online to see this? There is a list, and it's not exhaustive. So we are looking to you and we'll appreciate the input. We had planned today to spend some time to break out and ask some of those questions. But I feel like in the observance of our time, since we're getting close and we still have our city partners, we will connect and make sure that we are engaging and getting your ideas and helping us to complete this list. Yes. Give me just a moment. I'm going to go to Ms. Leslie. Yes, Mr. Washington. My apologies.
Yeah. Well, I just was saying, and when I say this sense of I'm talking about the community collectively,
Yes,
because, my grandfather used to tell me, when you become a community leader, you be that until you're dead. Well, I'm pretty close to that part of it, but I've been around here long enough to understand a few things called, you got to fight for what it is that your family needs.
That's right.
And the community in which is going to be gravely impacted by this. But I'm also happy at the fact that people are going to work. Girls, trust me on that one. I'm so glad that one is boots on the ground. But I think that this other part of it tends to omit the people, because of a matter of fact, y'all know that we are here because of the same kind of omittance. Is that the fact that the history of this property and all these things were done the same way this process is being done. The small folks are not being heard. So I just have this thing going on right now after I keep hearing this stuff, is that high level, I bet you the Blazers at this point in time are going to have no inconveniences as a result of this road closure. And that's only because of the fact that they to some degree, y'all think they matter. Okay, so I'm just saying is that it's time for them to get real clear about who's going to be really affected, so we don't have to duplicate this scenario again.
Yes, sir. I appreciate your comments. Thank you. Ms. Leslie, and then I'll go to Mr. Modica.
So I just want to say one more time, and again, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but I do a lot of community engagement, and I've done a lot of community engagement and outreach over the last 30 years of my career. And the list, the creation of the list should have been part of this group prior to it being created, prior to it being shared. We should have been asked, hey, who should be on this list? Because I've got 10 affordable housing providers that have buildings on MLK, on Williams, on Vancouver, on Interstate, families that are going to be impacted. Beam, that's right next door to me. There's that. Again, I appreciate the work that's gone into this, but the question should have come before the list was generated, before the list was shared. And the fact that it's the Blazers, it's Rip City, it's the convention center, I know they make money for the city, so I'm not bashing that because I'm a city employee. But at the same time, you got residents who are the heartbeat of the city, who continue to be displaced, disadvantaged, not considered that. And as Mr. Washington just said, that's the reason why we're here in the first place, because people sat in a room and made decisions about who needed to know what, when, and why. And they didn't ask those people that have boots on the ground. So I'm happy the project is moving forward. So please don't hear that. I would when I was interviewed by Oregon State the other day about this project, they're doing a capstone, and they asked me what things could be done better for the next time. And communication was the first thing that I said. That this has been a challenge to get information timely, to get information that we can use prior to things going out to the public. It has just been a challenge, and it's hard for me. It's frustrating for me to sit here meeting after meeting and hear all of this stuff, and it be the first time that I've heard it. So I just want to say that we need to be more thoughtful in advance before we start putting stuff out and utilizing the years and years and years of experience of people sitting on this HAAB that could have helped you create a list that was more exhaustive before that list was created. And I will yield my floor.
I appreciate that. And that's one of the things that we do in our one-on-one conversations. I'd love to schedule some additional time with you. There was a survey that went out in February to HAAB and COAC members that began to socialize this. And I know many of us, I have an email inbox that gets 600 emails a day. And so I realized that things can move past us. And so very much take the spanking and are taking all of that into consideration for us to continue to communicate a bit better, and want to make sure that we do get all of the wealth of information and experience that you all bring. That's why you're here. So I did have Mr. Modica going next, and then we'll go back to you.
Thank you. And thank you, other HAAB and COAC members. Ms. Gerber, I want to help you. So one of the things that occurs to me is that, you know, if you move the conversation up a level for a really smart way to communicate, we're not going to be able to boil the ocean. But if you look at this from a public health perspective, right? Think back to COVID, think to measles, think to flu, and the intentional messaging. All communities, all people, all methods and places that we most normally would not think would be a way to communicate. I'm sure folks at the county and at OHSU could be of assistance to you. And while I know that cost savings is important, I would suggest that possibly developing a cohort of ambassadors, project ambassadors. It could be summer employment for young people who need the money, right? Or for college students who are looking for employment. How do people get elected? They knock on doors. How are you going to get the message out? You need to knock on doors. You need to go to congregations. You need to go to barbershops. You need to go to the grocery stores. Is TriMet going to help? Are there going to be any channel cards? Is there going to be any bus boarded advertisement that's thrown into this so that people will see it, right? In the ways that a lot of the population receives messaging. Unfortunately, we don't all TikTok or Instagram, right? And so the young people that are doing the clipping and doing those short messages, those don't reach me. You know, those are things we're all afraid of because you could be scammed, right? So, I mean, I'm making this suggestive and hope you're taking it in, and I hope it matters.
Yes, indeed, it does matter, and I appreciate your offer of help. That's certainly what we're here to get, is to hear your input, and that was all very insightful and valuable. You know, 4 months out, we are we're going early and often, as I mentioned, and this list here is a living thing. It's been snowballing, you know, for a while in our heads. We wanted to. You're actually really the first folks to see this, to be honest. And we are looking forward to getting your input into it. And we're also looking forward to thinking about the ways you mentioned, Mr. Modiga, of how we can be non-traditional here. This is, to what I think someone said earlier, this is not a normal closure. We're thinking of this as like a more of an emergency management event in some ways, right? And we're working with the folks we connect with at the county level, at the modal level, at the community level, and saying, how can you help us amplify this message through non-traditional channels or through your existing channels? How can we get creative here? And any creative suggestion is welcome. All those were great thoughts off the cuff. And we're looking forward to hearing more as people cook on it a little bit. And I think we can round this list out exponentially.
I just got one more thing to say before I leave here.
Mr. Washington, just one moment, please.
He talks a lot. We have let him talk.
No, we're going to maintain order and respect the
Yeah, let me talk.
the order.
I'll
Are you yielding to Mr.
Yes, I am.
Washington?
I'll yield
Okay,
back to
Mr. Washington.
No, that's okay. Madiq just triggered something. I think the whole idea is, I keep hearing her say about getting the message out, but nothing's being said about the effect of the project on the people in which it will have an effect on. Okay, so we get the message out to people, but it ain't going. But if it influences people's lives and it damages them in some adverse kind of way, what's the point of getting the message out? So I'm just wanting to see if we could sort of refocus this a little bit and look at perhaps how people will be damaged by this in such a way, and how could we somehow build something around making sure that that gets minimized, versus getting a message out. That's all. I'm sorry, James, I yield it back to you. Thank you.
Yeah. So really, first of all, you guys, man, I don't know how this is gonna play out, but there ain't no real great solutions to none of this. This is gonna be hard. Just face it. People are not gonna like this. I'm curious to know, David Kim, this, everybody's saying this is not 217 or Abernathy.
It's not a weekend closure.
No, not a weekend closure. And the political ramifications of why we're doing this, coupled on to the everyday frustration of traveling I-5, you can't overstate what this is going to look like. So the truth of the matter is that we have to come up with concrete solutions, and we need to get the best science, the best data points on how this is. For example, we need to know what happened on 217 and across the country in terms of these closures, and apply those solutions that they have. I'm not aware of what the other cities, big cities, and so on, et cetera, have. But it occurs to me, and I'll go back to, I think, Joy O'Lee and maybe Ms. Stoudemire, we have to amp up our alternative processes getting through I-5, i.e. transit, i.e. rideshare, i.e. and then we need to prioritize the people who will be most vulnerable for this thing that I think Mr. Washington is talking about. I haven't seen anything like that. Are we going to incentivize people to move in a different way than they historically have? We just can't ask them and say, hey, this is gonna be nice, y'all. Yeah, It ain't like that. We need to figure out a way to incentivize people to do something different when what they're traditionally doing. And then we need to reward those who are making this happen, the first responders, the contractors, the people who are at the heart of that, give them some incentives to get this done quickly and efficiently. And that needs to be in the plan so we can see, they can see, and we have partners willing to work with us. And then we need to analyze what is the cost for the businesses in this area, and working with other folk in the municipalities, talking about how do we make this right at the end of the day. And then the other piece is these people, our opponents to this project, are going to use this against us. And they're going to use it against us. So we need to make sure we have a cost benefit for why we're doing this and what it's going to look like at the end. Y'all feel me on this? So we got to come with some creative solutions, and then we need to implement them. We just can't be talking about outreach and I'm gonna see your mama and talk to your neighbors. No, we have to put some concrete stuff on paper and put some dollars with them to make sure people know this is for real and we're serious about this. This is not 217. This is not Abernac. This is a community project that's never been done before. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, thank you. So I know a lot of the focus for ODOT has been on I-5 and the impact it has on the interstate, because we talk about how long it's going to take and to plan ahead. You know, our efforts and focus has been on kind of the low-hanging fruit, right? Reaching out to these large employers to see if maybe they can get people to work from home to reduce the volume of traffic. The area where I believe, in light of what has been discussed today, the area that I believe we can do a better job on, and we have time, is focusing on what are the impacts. And we've done some legislative briefings, and they have talked about what are you doing to engage the community that's going to be impacted, you know, from the crosswalks to the kids to the neighborhoods. And we've heard that loud and clear, and Serena has been a strong advocate for that as well. So we are partnering with her team as well. So we welcome the feedback, and what I'm going to advise the Rose Quarter project team to do is I want to have a follow-up conversation with HAAB and COAC about some ideas and thoughts. You know, this transit piece is a good piece of, could we partner with TriMet and get either additional buses or certain routes that maybe it's free. It's going to reduce the demand on the system. And so I think there's a lot of creative ideas that we can explore, and the businesses and the residents that are the most impacted is ones that we should listen to the most. And so that's what we'll do is we'll have a follow-up meeting, find a date and time. Again, we have time, 4 months out. We're focusing on the areas where there's massive traffic volume and trying to reduce the impact. But what we haven't focused on is the impact. And so that's an area that I want to spend some time focusing on and hearing from the HAAB members and COAC members and suggestions and advice, because this is a thriving city. There's a lot going on, and we haven't captured anything. I'll be the first to say that. And we need your help because this is something we have to do. I mean, we have an aging infrastructure, and the approach we're taking is the one that's going to have the least impact on the community versus two summers every weekend. It's kind of a greater impact. So more to come. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been a really robust conversation, and I'm sure that there are comments in the chat. I appreciate everyone for leaning in. That's why we have these conversations. Many of us have been advocating for this project for almost 10 years. There is going to be more. And what Mr. Posey said, I think, is key. What is the benefit coming out of this, right? Again, people don't want to hear all of the anecdotes, but when I was bodybuilding, it was hard work in the beginning, but it was the end goal. And you have to know what the end goal is for the hard work that is happening, right? Yes, my coach is over here in the room. So we're going to have more of these difficult conversations, and the benefit to the community in the end of this is what we're looking towards, the benefit of all of the small businesses that are working. And so I thank you all for the creative ideas. We will continue to work with you. Thank you to our colleagues at the city who are allowing us to pivot. We won't have an update on the wrap. Please know that we do need your participation. That the Reconnecting Albina Planning Project does concern the work that you all are doing here with HAAB and COAC, the work that is happening on the Rose Quarter. This whole area, as Felicia talked about, is vital to the city. It's vital that your input is given there. So please, I'll make sure to kind of pass along the RAP website. There'll be some other opportunities for engagement with you all coming up. So be looking for those emails and text messages from me so that we can get your input early and upfront. With that, I want to thank everyone for being in this space and being engaged. Your work is